A elaborative reading of dream symbolism in relation to alchemy as von Neumann Universe. The unsigned and unsealed Ligrivian epigram. For Daphne. Easy is the descent to Avernus, but it is still more difficult than the descent a nude might take upon an ordinarily modern or always already postmodern staircase, which itself is still more difficult than passing through a revolving door, whose definition, if you wish to call it that, is a passage that remains both open and shut, depending upon whether you attempt leaning upon it or whether another entity in motion is moving in the same direction that you are or just the opposite when you do, still both night and day, whose temporal hinge turns somewhat like a door, opening to one or the other alternative depending upon which side of dusk or dawn one is standing upon, still on both sides of such a hinge door, the door of gloomy dis stands open. Though stands much less than a toy soldier, however wide open his mouth might have been carved into the eternity of his artifactual stasis, or hinged for the function of crushing nutshells within the maw and shutter of his framework, stands perhaps more in the way one stands upon one side or the other of either dusk or dawn, still stands. Though stands not so much as a wall stands but rather because such a wall stands or remains standing in order to create such an opening which might conceive of itself or at least imagine itself as standing or engaged in the act of standing, as a sentry or beefeater stands guard, no matter how open the entrance might be in front of which his standing is defined as yeoman warder, but regarding the ease of descent from whatever angle. To recall those steps, their number, texture, color, polish, grain and wear, to recall and in recollecting allow the remembrance to pass out and through into the upper air, as one passes through the revolving, sliding, or simply ordinarily pre-modern, hinged and hence always already hidden conditions of a door. This is the task of opening such doors of perception. This is the toil of perceiving such a descending through stairs. Part 1, Section 1, Introduction. Alchemical shapes of dreams yet to come. For Ken T. and or contract FNPHF through TH. A dream in the shape of a star, but not about stars. Instead, about the common two-dimensional forms available in a cookie-cutter set or the common three-dimensional forms available in a child's shape-sorter developmental learning toy. A dream in a variety of the two-dimensional shapes available in a common set of cookie cutters, but not about the variety of shapes available in a common set of cookie cutters. Instead, about a cloud. A dream in a variety of the three-dimensional shapes available in a child's shape-sorter developmental learning toy, but not about the variety of the three-dimensional shapes available in a child's shape-sorter developmental learning toy. Instead, about a separate and completely different cloud. A dream in the shape of an unspecified and non-specific cloud, but neither about clouds in general nor about the generalization of clouds. Instead, about a particular memory's misreading of haiku. A dream in the shape of a particular memory's misreading haiku, but not about a particular memory's misreading of haiku. Instead, about a misunderstanding of the reflection of clouds in the ponds of a frog's imagination. A dream in the shape of a misunderstanding of the reflection of clouds in the ponds of a frog's imagination, but not about a misunderstanding of the reflection of clouds in the ponds of a frog's imagination. Instead, about the questions asked by a boy named Denny. A dream in the shape of the questions asked by a boy named Denny, but not about the questions asked by a boy named Denny. Instead, about the waggle dance of honeybees. A dream in the shape of the waggle dance of honeybees, but not about the waggle dance of honeybees. Instead, about the symbols of the process of individuation. A dream in the shape of the symbols of the process of individuation, but not about the symbols of the process of individuation. Instead, about the secret life of the golden flower. A dream in the shape of the secret life of the golden flower, but not about the secret life of the golden flower. Instead, about the exhibitionistic confessions of a fictional Russian ballerina. A dream in the shape of the exhibitionistic confessions of a fictional Russian ballerina, but not about the exhibitionistic confessions of a fictional Russian ballerina. Instead, about the self-proclaimed Islamophobia of a narcissistic performance artist. A dream in the shape of the self-proclaimed Islamophobia of a narcissistic performance artist, but not about the self-proclaimed Islamophobia of a narcissistic performance artist. Instead, about a variety of space-time contingent forms of communication. A dream in the shape of a variety of space-time contingent forms of communication, but not about a variety of space-time contingent forms of communication. Instead, about a set of ideal conditions. A dream in the shape of a set of ideal conditions, but not about a set of ideal conditions. Instead, about a von Neumann universe. Part 1, Section 2, the initial formulations of the assembled and or reassembled elements of initial dreams and or synonyms for both initials in dreams. Preliminary List 1, the adjective modified noun plurals. The opening illusions. The commencing hallucinations. The startling stupors. The inceptive yearnings. The gambit of marvels. The fledgling fantasies. The first intentions. The early daydreams. The primary preoccupations. The preliminary visions. The elementary anxieties. The foundational wish fulfillments. The preparatory reveries. The introductory nightmares. The inaugural wonders. Preliminary List 2, the forms and transformation. The if-then statements. The three-part syllogisms. The string figures. The letter to numeral conversions. The numerical transpositions. Segment 1. If-then statements concerning the vocation of visionary performativity among certain categories of messenger. 4FSH13A12R21225D. If the opening illusion was the commencing hallucination and the startling stupor was the inceptive yearning, if the gambit of marvels was the fledgling fantasy and the first intention was the early daydream, if the primary preoccupation was the preliminary vision and the elementary anxiety was the foundational wish fulfillment, if the preparatory reverie was the introductory nightmare and the inaugural wonder was the initial dream, if then was phi, then and then if was then phi. Then, the open F1212USFONFS, the coe1313NCFNG, Ha1212UCFNATFON, and the start 12FNG Stupor FS, the FNSEPVURNFN. Then, the GA13BFT of 13RVE12SFS, the I12EDG12FNGI Entity, and the I1st10FONFS, the EAR12Y 13. Then, the PRF13 area preoccupant from FS, the Pre12F13FNAR and the E12E13 ent area ank for the FS, the IU1 WFSH IU12F121213 ent. Then, the preparatory reverie FS, the introductory NFGHT13R, and the FNAUGURA12 wonder FS, the FNFTFA12 DREA 13. Then, phi then FS, if then and then phi FS then if. Segment 2. The initial instructions regarding the initial formulations of the assembled and or reassembled elements. For FR J and or JAR12SB. Present the opening illusions as a series of concentric circles within the commencing hallucinations. Situate the startling stupors within the Cartesian plane of the inceptive yearnings. Conceive the gambit of marvels as the mandalic self-portrait of the fledgling fantasies. Arrange the first intentions among the constellatory actions of the early daydreams. Rotate the preparatory reveries and release and or return these to the introductory nightmares. Share the inaugural wonders and restate and or resituate the initial dreams. Pick up the primary preoccupations and Navajo leap to the preliminary visions. Transfer the elementary anxieties and Cthulhu to the foundational wish fulfillments. Present the string figure called opening illusions as art doesn't do anything. Situate the string figure called startling stupors within the tableau called warning. They are building a bomb. Rename the string figure called cat's cradle, the unnameable, the unimaginable, or I'm sorry, I didn't know. Conceive of the string figure called gambit of marvels as from now on art will do something. conceive of the string figure called the red wheelbarrow as so much depends upon whether the white chickens do something. Arrange the string figure called fledgling fantasy within the string figure, formerly known as Gambit of Marvels. Rotate the string figure called introductory nightmares so that it can prepare its transformation into sustainable visions. Share the string figure called inaugural wonders in its expanded form as preliminary dreams as a constellatory performativity called Nehokospiko. Pick up the primary preoccupations of the string figure called foundational wish fulfillments and Navajo leap back over the Katiluuk rainbow to the M-theory duality string figure, also known as the reality of observation as communication. Repeat 4 times until you arrive at the string figure called communicative destiny. Segment 3. A few preliminary questions. For J. 1312 and/or 12EWFSC, and/or DAV8. Is that stranger's hat my stranger's hat? Is this initial dream her initial dream? Is her general sense of something his general sense of something? Is his summing up of ideas their summing up of ideas? Is their whole personality our whole personality? Is our coronation of the ruler its coronation of the ruler? Are those divine natures of the sun my divine natures of the sun? Are these doctors' hoods her doctors' hoods? Is her strange personality his strange personality? Is his strange experience their strange experience? Is that strange entity my strange entity? Is this unconscious entanglement her unconscious entanglement? Is their fantastic adventure our fantastic adventure? Is our being beyond time its being beyond time? Is there universal and everlasting person our universal and everlasting person? Is our ephemeral and accidental mortal pronoun its ephemeral and accidental mortal pronoun? Is that round hat encircling the head like the sun disk of a crown my round hat encircling the head like the sun disk of a crown? If that first mention of the mandala is my opening illusion to the dreamer's search for completeness and self-unity, then is this initial disclosure of the representation of the universe her commencing reference to the sacred circle? If her inceptive sighting of the semiotically significative geometric figure is his embryonic intimation of the spiritual tool for focusing attention, then is his fledgling suggestion of the means of establishing a sacred space their first remark about the representation of a spiritual journey? If their early comment on the map representing the topography of the divine is our primary citation of the period of 40 days in which the human system completes one physiological cycle, then is our preliminary proposition regarding the circle its elementary insinuation of the form of a square with 4 gates and a circle with a center point. If its foundational divulgence of the lived reality of the abstract symbol is our preparatory impression of the instructional chart of the spiritual aspects of human experience, then is our introductory indication of the relationship between macrocosm and microcosm their inaugural notification of the symbol of various divine powers at work in the myriad processes of the universe. Segment 4. 3 syllogistic forms in the shape of an allegory of the basic laws of thermodynamics. Some eternal durations are strange hats. All Mendelic characters are strange hats. Therefore, none of these strange hats are my strange hats. No 9th mandala dreams are 35th mandala dreams. All 35th mandala dreams contain factors of 5 and 7. Therefore, no 9th mandala dreams contain factors of 5 and 7. Some general results of the exchange of hats are aspects of psychological experience which emerge for the unconscious. All psychological experiences which emerge for the unconscious are strictly the result of archetypal energies capable of opening closed doors and scaling or otherwise breaking through locked gates. Therefore, if this unconscious schema is always already standing like a shadow behind the dreamer and pushing its way into consciousness, then no general results of the exchange of hats are strictly the result of his archetypal energies capable of opening closed doors and scaling or otherwise breaking through locked gates. Part 2, Section 1, A Paradise of Paragraphs and Method. For Gertrude S. and/or J. R. and/or Bruce A. Segment 1 for the sake of completeness. for the sake of completeness, for the sake of discussion, for the sake of recapitulation, for the sake of occurrence, for the sake of initiation, for the sake of divination, for the sake of osculation. If the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of completeness, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of discussion, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of recapitulation, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of occurrence, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of initiation, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of divination, if the social is made coherent by discursive arrangements for the sake of osculation. Segment 2: an untitled series of paragraphs and/or prose poems concerning a snake, a flower, a dreamer, a mandala, a parable, a mirror, a pond, and a cloud on a plane or series of planes within the von Neumann universe. A snake that describes a circle around the dreamer. A blue flower. A circle of flowers. A circle of blue flowers. Several circles of various colors of flowers that describe a number of concentric rings around the dreamer. A mirror. A flower. A pool of water. A winter moon. A Chinese proverb meaning something that can be seen but not touched. A Chinese proverb. A mirror. A flower. A pool of water. A winter moon. A blue circle. A snake that defines the temenos of the dreamer. A Chinese proverb. A glass mirror. A reflected flower. A haiku depicting a pool of water. A winter moon from years before recalled within the reflection and recollection of that haiku. A series of concentric and non-concentric circles of flowers of various colors. A blue corn snake in a yellow basket. A temenos that defines the alchemy of the dreamer. A cloud in the shape of a second Chinese proverb. A Chinese proverb. A broken mirror. A parable of wasp and orchid. A haiku other than the one in which a frog leaps into a quiet pool of water. An imaginary winter moon in a real garden of memory. A mathematical formula such as AI equals I pi r squared. A blue flower. A circle of flowers. A circle of flowers in various colors other than blue. Several circles of various colors of flowers that describe a number of concentric rings around the dreamer, but whose colors the dreamer cannot recall, and so in the depiction of their appearance utilizes the word blue to hide such instances of uncertainty and indeterminacy in the dream. A fact pointing to an anxiety and a motivation to mask it. A green snake variegated with gray, black, and white bands. A reference to another poem in any poetic form other than haiku. A wicker basket that suddenly fills with unhusked corn described with a word for any color other than blue. A temenos that defines the alchemy of any dreamer other than the one depicted beneath the lion in that famous painting by Henri Julien Felix Rousseau. A cloud in the shape of any dream other than the one that dreaming musician is having beneath that lion. Any second Chinese proverb other than the one that describes the shape of that first cloud. Segment 3: because space is discontinuous. Because space is discontinuous. Because a plane in the three-dimensional universe has a top and a bottom. Because having fingers and an opposable thumb makes it possible to turn the page. Because motion is required to bridge the gap between two separate loci in discontinuous space. Because discontinuous space, therefore motion. Because motion, therefore time. Because time, therefore the thought of time. Because the thought of time, therefore thinking, therefore philosophy, therefore afterworlds and afterlives, therefore universes, omniverses, and metaverses, therefore prepositions, punctuation, paragraphs, chapters, paginations, indices, annotations, and bibliographies. Because space is discontinuous, therefore dreaming. Because space is discontinuous, therefore transforming. Because space is discontinuous, therefore circling. Because space is discontinuous, therefore turning. Segment 4: the possibility of representation. A man with gold coins in his hands. How many? It doesn't say. I bet there are a lot. Yes, these coins represent wealth. Such a man must be rich. Yes, and in possession of many coins. Yes. An enclosed space for variety performance. How much variety? It doesn't say. I bet there are a lot. Yes, this type of performance represents multiplicity and heterogeneity. Such a show must be very entertaining. Yes, and include many different sorts of talents. Yes. Segment 5. The ineluctable modality of a red ball, at least that if no more or less than, thought as statement through such a repetition as a red ball or a red mask, a red ball or a red car, a red ball or a red wine, a red ball or a red bauble, a red ball or a ball, a red ball or a red and yellow ball, a red ball or a red flag, a red ball or a red herring, a red ball or a red songbook, a red ball or a black book, a red ball or a red stocking, a red ball or a red card, a red ball or an unplayed card, a red ball or an unread book, a red ball or an unreadable book, a red ball. Yes, a red ball. Yes. Segment 6. Still further definitions of representation and or further still representations of definition. A globe, a theater, an orb, an ornament, a world, a representation, a mechanical apparatus. What makes it mechanical? The fact that it moves. What makes it an apparatus? The fact that it does something. The fact that it performs a function, has a structure, and is composed of multiple parts. What makes it a world? Its orientation as an indication of pointing. What makes it a representation? The fact that it is an apparatus for conveying information. The fact that it is much smaller and much less complex than any actual world. The fact that it is not made from the same variety of physical material that composes an actual world. What makes it an ornament? Its setting, and because it is pretty. What makes it an orb? Its physical form. What makes it a theater? Its historical reference. What makes it a globe? The fact that it was initially posited as such. Yes, a posited globe. Yes. Who posited it as such? It doesn't say. What does it say? It says a globe. Yes, a globe. Yes.